I just gotta double check it. It should be good. Said I went live. Don't see anything yet. Okay, I'm live.
I turn my desktop volume down a little bit. Let's see if I'm getting any fan noise when I do this. Oh, I unplugged my fan. Duh. Were you shocked that the Patriots released J.C. Jackson?
Yeah, because they were literally our number one corner. When Stephon Gilmore left, he was like the new Gilmore, like fresh blood, young. You know, he was just under interceptions of Trayvon Diggs. He was freaking at it, and so now now the Chargers literally freaking beefed up their defense. So
The Chargers are going to be scary.
Yeah.
Leo Mack, J.C. Jackson.
we got Bosa out there.
Yeah, Bosa already, Derwin James. Like that's a scary defense.
Alrighty, so everything's set. What's Spot Track? That's the tracker thing.
PFF.com.
Okay.
The link I sent you in the.
Oh, gotcha. No, yeah, Spot Track. That's a pretty good one too. Oh yeah, I guess we
That
could.
one had a good one, but that one didn't have all of them.
Oh, okay. I guess we have to go through Adam the rap sheet Twitter because
No, this one on PFF, the one that says PFF.com, it literally lists every single one.
Oh, we could just go in order then from quarterbacks and stuff.
Yeah, and it also, well, I think teams would probably be better.
Okay.
But they even have Von Miller, Chandler Jones with nothing next to it because they haven't been signed yet.
Yeah.
That other one was missing a lot of names, and it didn't say the franchise tags. This one will say the franchise tags.
Yeah. But we're going by teams. Don't we have to keep do you know exactly what team got what? Well, there's only a few teams that got multiple players.
Yeah, this one also goes by team.
Oh, it does?
All the way down. Yeah, if you scroll all the way down.
Okay.
It says who they released and who they re-signed.
Okay.
We should go by division, unless you want to go.
Well, it might not have division.
I mean, we know the division, so I mean, we could just do it
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but teams is gonna be perfect then.
It's an alphabetical order. So.
Yeah, perfect. Alrighty, I guess we could go ahead and start. You started last time, Ian, right?
Yeah, I did.
Okay. All right. What is up, guys? If you guys are watching on Ian's Twitch, we are PI Podcast. We do podcasts every week on the NFL and starting and doing news on everything that happens in the week of the NFL world. And this week is free agency, so there's going to be plenty to talk about. And so, Ian, we're going to start off with the Arizona Cardinals because there was a ton of free agency signings. What do you think?
Pritish just said we're not introducing our guest. He just said we're not going to introduce Julio.
Yeah,
at all.
Okay.
No, I mean I was gonna ask you and then Julio. I was gonna introduce him after.
All right, Julio, introduce yourself. Let us know.
Yeah, go ahead.
What's up, guys? Deadshot. It's Julio. I'm a New England Patriots fan. I'm from New York, as you can see from the accent. Excited to be here. First podcast, really. I've been friends with these guys for a while now, and I'm excited to just get into the sports scene, and we'll get right into it.
Actually, I'm gonna start off with Julio. If you have the PFF, do you have the PFF list up? Or do you not?
Yeah.
Do you want me to send you the link?
I got my own sources.
Okay, so if you, okay, we're gonna start with the Arizona Cardinals. Do you have their things pulled up yet, or do you want me to come back to you?
Yeah, no, I got it. So, I think the biggest one that we have is, you got Zach Ertz. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
We're talking about Are we talking about re-signings or just like free agency? Like,
anything. Yeah.
Anything.
okay. Well, of course, we got Zach Ertz coming back, or re-signing for the Cardinals for a 3-year, 31, almost a little over $31.5 million. He came into the season like pretty late. He was pretty. I would say he did a pretty decent job coming in. Especially leaving the Eagles, coming to the Cardinals. I think he's a good fit over there. Especially since they just lost Christian Kirk as well. I still got, big name D Hop. And then we got James Conner, right? I think James Conner still signed up.
He just signed a pretty big deal actually for a running back.
Yeah, I think he's gonna stay good with the Cardinals, definitely.
And they also re-signed Chase Edmonds. So the running back room stayed the same. James Conner signed 3 years, $21 million, which is pretty hefty for a running back.
Yeah, they got their backup quarterback too, and Colt McCoy, and then they released Jordan Hicks, linebacker. It's expendable, but they re-signed not well-known edge unless you're a big Cardinals fan, and Dennis Gardeck. He played decently, and it's obviously why he got re-signed. And then D lineman Michael Dogbe, he was re-signed for a year, and yeah, so they got a lot of their free agents signed. They released some people, but the biggest one, like Julio said, is probably Zach Ertz and James Conner. James Conner had a really good season for them. It's weird because James Conner was on the Pittsburgh Steelers, had a 1-year wonder basically, and he moved to Cardinals, and the first year he was there, 1-year wonder again. So I want to see if he can improve with this new contract.
Yeah, his touchdowns, he was very good in fantasy. They like to give him the ball on the 1-yard line. I think he had like 18 touchdowns this year, but he didn't have a lot of yards. But like I said, he was kind of the third down back, the 1 or 2 yard runs, to the end zone. So his stats are a little inflated because of that, but still, they obviously have faith in him to be able to lead. I messed up earlier when I said Chase Edmonds. He went to the Dolphins. So it's just James Conner in the backfield right now, and they did just lose Christian Kirk. So we'll see what they do in the draft.
Yeah. PFF for some reason says their Cardinals re-signed Chase Edmonds. Weird.
Yeah.
But the Dolphins did get Chase Edmonds. So yeah, and that's the Arizona Cardinals. They made some moves today. Going on to the next team, Atlanta Falcons. They usually don't, at least in the past like 6 years, they haven't really done it really much in free agency on the first day. Haven't made any big splashes that I know of. But the only thing they did was extend our left tackle Jake Matthews to a 3-year, $52 million extension. And that saved up a little bit more cap room so we could sign more players. And we also did let Foye Oluokun go to free agency, and he got signed by the Jaguars. We'll talk about that later. But
and we also got to talk about Calvin Ridley not playing either. There's a lot of cap room for there too.
Yeah, we could go. We'll go into that a little bit. If you guys remember our last podcast, we did go over the Calvin Ridley situation. We're gonna go over it again here a little bit. But yeah, the Atlanta Falcons didn't do much. And now Julio. What about the Baltimore Ravens? They didn't make too many moves, but where do you see that team headed?
Baltimore Ravens. I honestly believe they're a decent team. Lamar is getting a lot of hate because they're just calling him like a running back and he can't really throw much. But I feel like that they might get decently far. I think Lamar might be able to carry the team this year. You still got Hollywood Brown out there. I can't even follow on the running backs. Who's their running backs now? I don't know.
Well, they're getting J.K. Dobbins back, and he got injured in the preseason last year. So J.K. Dobbins coming back. We don't know what he's capable of yet.
Yeah,
we've seen him in college, but I mean, honestly, the Ravens with Harbaugh coaching and Justin Tucker kicking, I think they're always going to be in the mix. And with Pittsburgh signing Mitchell Trubisky today to be their starting quarterback, most likely, um, the Bengals are going to make their moves. They've made a lot of moves at offensive line. We'll talk about. So the Bengals are still going to be the top team in that division, in my opinion. But the Ravens, to me, could definitely be number 2.
Yeah, the Ravens they didn't do too much today. They still have cap room, so they'll probably sign some people that they need. They still have that offense. The offense is going to be explosive next year with Lamar and their running first offense with Lamar. And J.K. Dobbins coming back, like you said, Ian, it's a big point because he got injured and we haven't really seen anything from him since he came from college. And I think J.K. Dobbins was a good pickup. I think he's very versatile, very explosive, and I think he's gonna do the job. And that's AFC North's gonna be, I think, a little tough for with them with the Browns if they do make a step again forward. Going on to a team in the AFC, we're going over to the Buffalo Bills, and they made a lot of moves today. They released AJ Klein. They released John Feliciano. They re-signed Jake Kumaro to a one-year deal. They released Darrell Williams, their guard. They extended their center Mitch Morse to a 2-year, $19.5 million deal, and they signed guard Roger Saffold from the Titans. And also signed their DL Daquan Jones and signed DL Tim Settle. So, Ian, what do you think about all the Bills moves?
So I like the defensive moves. I'm a little concerned with what they did releasing their guards. But I think when you think about this draft, there's a ton of guards in the draft. There's a ton. So to me, it's not a bad move, but most likely you're going to be having a rookie starting at guard for the Buffalo Bills, which is a little scary.
Julio, you have any thoughts on the Buffalo Bills?
Honestly, having the Buffalo Bills in my favorite team's division is, I like them. I love how they play. Their O line was probably one of the best that I've seen this year. Um, around like I would say about the same height as like maybe like the Dallas Cowboys O line. They're definitely up there. We definitely, as a Patriots, definitely did not get there as much as I thought we would. Um, but I think the Bills are going to go a long way again. Josh Allen, he's a young quarterback. He's definitely going to get there again. He did freaking amazing. Him and Stephon Diggs were just like the dynamic duo, especially with Dawson Knox in the end zone. That the big man just throwing it back there. It's definitely going to be a really good team to play with.
I honestly think the Buffalo Bills are going to win that division again next year. I think the Patriots will fight for it. Mac Jones is still developing, and it's going to be a second year. I think he'll be even better in that offense. Yeah, and the Bills, like Ian said, that guard spot, it's not fun to have a rookie there at guard. Yeah, we might see Josh Allen get hit a lot, but he does have that escape ability, so we'll see. And yeah, they actually just signed trenches. They signed people in the trenches, and it was really good that they got their center Mitch Morse because he's been a staple for that offensive line for Buffalo for a little while, and just to be able to sign him, it just helps a lot. You guys have any more thoughts on Buffalo Bills?
The only thing I'll say is we got to keep an eye on Cole Beasley as well. They gave him permission to request a trade, and we haven't heard anything else after that.
Yeah, that's something to keep an eye on. I haven't heard anything really, and he might yeah. So now
He
we're
could
going.
stay, he could leave.
Yeah, he could just get released, and he'll be another free agency pickup. Moving on, we're going to the Carolina Panthers, and they released cornerback AJ Bouye. They released D lineman Morgan Fox, and then they signed safety Xavier Woods to a 3-year, $15 million deal, and they signed guard Austin Corbett to a 3-year, almost the $29.5 million deal.
All right,
And
so I'm a little shocked about AJ Boye. And I've also heard that they're open to trading CJ Henderson. So I don't know what that cornerback room is going to look like because Stephon Gilmore, free agent, right?
Yeah, Stephon Gilmore's a free agent. They haven't re-signed him yet. So I fully expect them to re-sign Stephon Gilmore to at least a 2-year deal. But who knows? That if they don't, that cornerback room is going to look really empty, and they really need to address that situation.
AJ Boye is a good veteran corner, so I was kind of shocked to see the fact that they don't have the deal in place yet with Stephon Gilmore. I was a little shocked to see them let him go.
Yeah, because that they had with AJ Boy and Stephon Gilmore. I know AJ Boy didn't play too well last season. He played okay. I mean, he had some good games, but I think that was a big factor into playing his release. Or they think they're going to draft a cornerback in the draft, maybe even get Derek Stingley Jr. even if they don't want a quarterback. Um, yeah, Julio. Any thoughts on the Carolina Panthers?
I think Stephon Gilmore. He's a pretty decent fit for the Panthers. They definitely need that corner over there. Especially coming from the Patriots. Gilmore. He was a top corner for our team. And then when he left, went straight to the Panthers. I thought I thought he had a pretty decent season. He picked off our own team. It was kind of weird to see, but yeah. So I think the Panthers are a rebuilding franchise now, and hopefully they do all right this season. Hopefully they use their draft to actually pick up like a decent squad. Hopefully.
Yeah, we know they don't want to start Sam Darnold. They actually want a quarterback, and they're in talks with Deshaun Watson. So I really think that he might go to Carolina, and that would be a good pickup for them. I obviously don't want to see him in the NFC South. I mean, I wouldn't mind, but I mean, with Tom Brady coming back and everything, I mean, look at us. The NFC South's going to get better than it was going to be the worst division in the South. But we also just got breaking news that with the Honey Badger being released or being in the free agency, the Chiefs have signed Justin Reed to a 3-year, $31.5 million deal with $20 million guaranteed.
Oh,
And that's
Okay.
Justin Reed. He's been a solid safety for the
solid.
Texans. Yeah, and this just replaces Tyrann Mathieu basically.
Well, you have your answer. It's definitely not working out a deal with Tyrann Mathieu.
Yeah, and
Honestly, I think Tyrann Mathieu is like a huge cap release, like a huge cap gap that they actually have. Now they probably have more room after getting Justin Reed from the Texans, So I don't know.
yeah.
That's
Yeah, no, this is a good pickup by the Chiefs because their safety. They need safety help with Honey Badger being gone because Tyrann Mathieu could still play. He's still a good safety.
But yeah,
And
he's gonna get his money.
Oh, for sure. I expect him to be. I don't even know. If I had to guess, it'd be like near the $100 million range total.
That's fair. Yeah.
Moving on, we go to the Chicago Bears. And they just released a name that hasn't been popular in a couple years, running back Tariq Cohen. And they also released D lineman Eddie Goldman. Julio?
I think Eddie Goldman was their number one D tackle. I believe so.
He was one of their starting D tackles for sure. Yeah, and he was a solid. He's solid. I mean, that pass rush was good for the Bears, and now they trade away Khalil Mack. They released Eddie Goldman. They still have Akeem Hicks though. Akeem Hicks can still play really well.
Yeah, I think the only thing that I see from here is that the Bears they just re-signed D tackle, Ogunjobi to a 3-year, 40.5 million deal. Getting rid of Eddie Goldman and then just re-sign Ogunjobi. I don't know. I feel like I would have kept Goldman definitely.
I wonder who they're going to pick up because they're about to lose Allen Robinson as well. So really curious to see who Justin Fields is going to be throwing the ball to next year. I know Mooney, he's not a bad player. He's probably going to step up into the number one role, and they're probably going to draft help him out. But curious to see who he's going to be throwing the ball to.
Yeah, Ogunjobi. I think he was a pretty good pickup with Eddie Goldman going. Ogunjobi played well for that Bengals team. Even in that playoff run, he actually got some pressure on these quarterbacks in the playoffs, and he was doing a pretty good job for them. And now, since we're talking about Ogunjobi being on the Bengals, and now we move on to the Cincinnati Bengals. Ian, any big names? Any big thoughts from that?
Yeah, so the big one, they franchise tagged Jesse Bates. It's a 1 year, basically $13 million, which was good to keep him. Signed 2 guards in the offseason so far. One was Alex Kappa for 4 years, $40 million. And then the other one was Ted Karras for 3 years, $18 million. And they re-signed BJ Hill for a 3-year, $30 million contract. So I think that those were 2 very good signings for them. They learned in the Super Bowl that they need to protect Joe Burrow. They learned Joe Burrow's rookie year that they need to protect Joe Burrow, and this is a very good start to that.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you. Definitely signing linemen for Joe Burrow was very, very necessary, and franchise tagging Jesse Bates was a huge, huge franchise tag because Jesse Bates he did get that pick in the Super Bowl, and he's been an all around great safety. He's been a really solid safety for the Bengals, and a lot of teams would have paid him if he did hit free agency. That BJ Hill signing though is a good one because they just released, as Julio said, they just released Larry Ogunjobi, so that BJ Hill re-signing was pretty good. They just need to boost that back up a little bit. Next team we have is the Cleveland Browns, and yeah, they did a very big trade we talked about last episode, Ian. A very big trade.
A big trade, but it wasn't like a big trade at the same time. They got Amari Cooper for a 5th-round pick, so huge pickup for them with Landry getting released, OBJ getting released last season, and they also franchise tagged David Njoku. So I would expect them to draft another wide receiver in the draft, kind of try to balance out that wide receiver room a little bit. Because Amari Cooper is a great wide receiver. He's going to be number 1, of course, but you need a little bit more there, I think, now that they've lost Jarvis Landry as well. And then they also signed Taven Bryan from the Jaguars. If they want him, they can have him because his career. I'm gonna look at his stats real quick. He was a 1st-round pick.
Yeah, and
sacks do you think he has as a 1st-round pick?
yeah, it's the name that
Answers 5.5 sacks in 4 seasons as a 1st-round pick. What are you doing? He had 2 sacks this year, and they were in the same game. Sacked Josh Allen twice. That was it. That was it for the whole year. He had 15 tackles this year. The 1st-round pick in 2018. Off my team. Okay, I'm done.
And given they signed in a 1-year prove-it deal too. $5 million though. Julio, I think $5 million for 4 sacks and for 5 sacks in 4 seasons. You think that's worth it?
I would probably put him at a 2, maybe $2.5 million player. Yeah, it's like Ian said, like he can have him. Yeah, he had those sacks like against the Bills, and yeah, it was Josh Allen against probably like one of the best O-line in the league. I guess you can give him that, but the Cleveland Browns though, the only thing is like Ian said that they probably got to work with the wide receiver core only because if Amari Cooper gets hurt and he gets injured, then it's basically over. it's over.
Yeah, they definitely need some good receiver signings, even if it's like even not to wide receiver 2 or 3s, because they still have Amari Cooper, and even if he does get injured, they still need someone to carry the load a little bit. And Baker Mayfield needs some help on that offense, especially if his line isn't as good as it once was. And
It's like going back to your team, Pratesh, like the Falcons. It's like once Calvin really went out mid-season, and then no more Julio Jones, and it was just up to the rookie Kyle Pitts. Kyle Pitts like freaking performed like nuts, and Matt Ryan was the only one throwing to him. So it was, it's gonna be like the same thing if Amari Cooper gets hurt.
Yeah, because that situation in Atlanta is so bad right now with the wide receiver core. Russell Gage has been stepping up. We'll talk about that a little later. But yeah, the Browns they traded for a good wide receiver that Baker Mayfield can go to, and David Njoku is a really good tight end. I'm interested to see if they re-sign Austin Hooper, because if that would just help a little bit, even if DeMar Cooper did get hurt, because they'd have a 2 tight end formation set they could go to whenever they wanted with that offensive playbook. And yeah.
And Austin Hooper's a great tight end too.
Yeah, he is. He's solid. He didn't have the best. I think he had around 400 to 500 yards last season. Not too bad for a tight end.
No.
Yeah. Moving on, we're going to the Dallas Cowboys. Another big name. Ian, take it away.
All right, so we franchise tagged the tight end Dalton Schultz. That was a good move for them. They re-signed Michael Gallup to a 5-year, $62.5 million contract. Little weird. A lot of people are disagreeing. Maybe they should have kept Amari Cooper over Michael Gallup, but regardless, it's done with. We got Michael Gallup for 5 years now, and they also re-signed. We talked about it on our last podcast that DeMarcus Lawrence was refusing to take a pay cut. They just re-signed him for a 3-year, $40 million contract. So they keep a lot of weapons on offense. They do lose Amari Cooper, but they still have CeeDee Lamb, Michael Gallup, Dalton Schultz. They still have Tony Pollard. They still have Zeke. So the Dallas Cowboys offense is going to look very similar to it did last year, just without Amari Cooper.
Yeah. We talked about this in a podcast. One of our previous podcasts. Amari Cooper, I believe that he should have been re-signed over Michael Gallup. I know Michael Gallup's been stepping up in the role when Amari Cooper was injured this year. But I still think that if you have CeeDee Lamb over there and you're able to re-sign Amari Cooper, you should do it. And then one thing we mentioned in our previous podcast as well is that DeMarcus Lawrence, he was getting close. He didn't agree with the restructure. He didn't want the restructure. So they were possibly going to release him. And now they paid him what he wanted. They paid him for $40 million. And he's a really good pass rusher. So that's one of the things they really wanted to make sure they had. Yeah. And moving on do you have any thoughts on the Cowboys, Julio?
No, I kind of like their squad now. I think if they would have lost DeMarcus Lawrence, it would have been like a huge factor with them. They already got Micah Parsons, defense rookie of the year, just absolute beast on the other side. But I kind of like that they kept DeMarcus Lawrence because he's just a brute force, and they actually needed that. And I don't know who they would have gotten to actually replace him. And I feel like DeMarcus Lawrence is a good fit for the Cowboys. He's been there for a while.
Yeah. If anyone has any questions from Ian's stream or my stream, definitely go ahead and ask away. We'll definitely answer them.
For sure. Well, I'm keeping an eye on the comments.
Okay. Yeah.
Someone said Ian's sexy. Thanks.
Oh, sorry, that was me.
Nobody said that.
No, that was your girlfriend. I put one in. I forgot.
Yeah. Moving on, we're going to the Denver Broncos. They released wide receiver Deshaun Hamilton, kind of like wide receiver 4, so not really too big of a name. Acquired via trade. They got traded for Russell Wilson. They paid a lot for him, which Ian disagrees with. He went on a rant in our last podcast about it. So go check it out. It's on YouTube. Definitely check it
I
out.
might do it again.
Yeah, he might. Yeah, he's close. I better get off of this before he starts going. But they also signed.
Sorry. One thing is with Russell Wilson going to the Broncos, he actually was like looking, of course, at other teams, but it's also insight from Russ that he actually went to like Peyton Manning for like insight of like the organization and everything, and it was actually like Peyton Manning that actually like put him towards to being like signing with the Broncos.
Yeah, yeah, he did his research. I saw. He researched the Broncos really well. He even called Peyton Manning a few times to get some information from him to see how that area is probably, and just to see how the team in general looks like. So that probably was a big decision for him. He saw that there was a good defense. In my opinion, that defense is really good. They still have Bradley Chubb. They still have a pass rush. They may even sign Von Miller back, which would be huge for them.
PS2,
Exactly. They got Patrick Surtain the second, and they still have that defense can carry Russell Wilson if he needs to. Yeah.
Defense is going to be very good.
And the Denver Broncos, they also signed D lineman DJ Jones to a 3-year, $30 million deal. And that just adds to an already defense-heavy team. And moving on to another team, we got the Detroit Lions. Yeah. Ian, take it away.
All right, so the Detroit Lions released edge rusher Trey Flowers. They re-signed probably their new starting quarterback Tim Boyle, TB12. They re-signed safety Tracy Walker to a 3-year, $25 million contract. They re-signed a linebacker Sean Dion Hamilton and Alex Anzalone. Familiar with him. But the TB12 signing for the Detroit Lions at 1 year, $2.5 million. In all reality, I think they're going to just ride out Jared Goff the remainder of his contract. But looks like they're focusing defensive heavy and probably going to draft offense, I would think.
Yeah, I think the Lions, they're good. They need some wide receiver help. I know they just re-signed one of their wide receivers.
Josh Reynolds.
Yep, exactly. And they just need a really good wide receiver, honestly. And they also just need help on defense as well. That's one of the rebuilding teams. They did kind of become like that. Oh, people don't want these guys. They're gonna go to the Lions. It kind of became that team. And Dan Campbell, he seems like a really fun coach to be playing for. And I think that team is really playing for him. I think we see a little bit of improvement from the Lions this year. But these re-signings, basically, they just want to keep everyone they have, and they're just going to work on things.
I actually really like Campbell as a coach because watching like his post-game interviews every single time with like the reporters, he was like so upbeat. He never had his head down. He was like, "Yep, I already know the capability of the guys out there. I know they're trying their hardest. I know it was a hard loss, but we're just gonna get out there next week, gonna keep going." And I'm like, "Wow, all right, this guy's actually motivated. He's actually likes what he does, you know."
Yeah, one of my friends actually, I literally went. Dan Campbell cried. I mean, that just showed me. I mean, I know some people laughed at him, but that kind of showed like he really did care for the team. You don't see nowadays every coach is crying, like just because they want their team to do good. I feel like he's an emotional guy, and that just showed that he really cares for the team. And one of my friends, they were like, "Oh no, that makes him less of a man." I mean, we're in 2022. How does that make him less of a man?
I don't think it's being less of a man. I think it just shows that he's passionate. Like he's definitely passionate about his team. Because in all honesty, if you would think like of like a totally different team, and their coach, they got rid of the coach because maybe he had his head down, he wasn't confident or anything. The reason why they haven't gotten rid of Campbell yet is probably because they see how passionate he is and how he can actually change the team, with his motivation and knowledge,
Mhm. Yeah, exactly. Well said. Uh, well said. Staying in that division, the Green Bay Packers. Um,
Oof.
they extended Preston Smith, but got rid of his brother, Zadarius Smith. And honestly, I think Zadarius Smith should have been flip flopped. I think Smith should have stayed, and Preston Smith should have been released. Um, Ian, your thoughts on all of that?
Yeah, so I agree with you. I think Zadarius Smith is the better player. When they have to figure out a way to pay Devontae Adams and Aaron Rodgers, I think that might have played a little bit into it because Zadarius Smith probably would have wanted more like 60, 65 million. So I think that's more of a cap issue. But I mean, Preston Smith is still a good rusher. So um, the problem is the defensive side of the ball for the Packers isn't that great. It's okay. I mean, but it's not top 15. It's probably more like top 20. Um, but like we talked about on our last podcast, you're going all in on Aaron Rodgers and hopefully Devontae Adams to win you a championship.
Yeah. Julio. They also released tackle Billy Turner. They re-signed good re-signing for that defense, linebacker Devondre Campbell, who's really stepped up on the Packers and played really well. And he was signed to a 5-year, $50 million deal. And it was funny. I was looking at these re-signings, $52 million, $50 million, and then there's comments. And it was like, they're like, does cap not exist? Because the Packers are still under the cap, Like they're in cap. They're not in cap hell, but they're still over the cap.
I think they're just getting ready for the draft too. Honestly, I don't know who they can really pick up. I think they're gonna need like somebody on defense, maybe like a corner or somebody, But I think their offense is pretty solid right now. I think they're gonna go into the draft to hopefully get somebody on defense.
Yeah, this is a very edge rush heavy draft as well. So, I mean, this is not a very good offseason for edge rushers or really offensive linemen. I mean, some of them have picked up already. I mean, but I think that might be why you're kind of seeing like Armstead still not signed somewhere because one, the cost, like if you can get someone, semi decent as a rookie, why pay Armstead?
Yeah, it's actually right. I mean, yeah, it's some people also some players might be longer to do contract negotiations with. They might want a certain
That's
thing.
true.
Teams might want a certain thing. They can't pay him as much. He wants more money, and all that stuff can take a couple days even. And one thing,
Well,
yeah,
no, sorry.
go ahead, go ahead.
No, it also it's like goes into like like life in general. It's like you go into like a brand new job. It's like is the manager gonna take someone experienced because and they want more money, or are they gonna take like the brand new person like right out of college or right out of tech school that they can mold and teach them their ways and pay them a little bit less money. You know what I mean? Same thing.
Yeah, and one thing we talked about last podcast a little bit, Ian. They still. I haven't seen anything on the details of Aaron Rodgers' deal because they said 4 years, but Aaron Rodgers came out and said that wasn't the deal. But we isn't. Do you think it's kind of weird that we haven't seen the exact official details of that deal?
Yeah, that I mean, typically within a couple hours it's all released. I mean, so that's just them they're keeping it a secret for whatever reason.
Yeah, maybe just because it's maybe even a 1 year deal that Aaron Rodgers just wants one last ride, or even a 2 year deal that he can void if he wants to as well, if he wants to get traded. Um, yeah, I think the Green Bay Packers, they're just doing the same thing they've been doing for the last couple of years, trying to see if Aaron Rodgers can get them to the Super Bowl, which he hasn't been able to. He's won MVPs the last 2 years, but he still hasn't gotten them Super Bowl. So that MVP kind of like, I mean, it's the MVP. I mean, he played really well, that's really good. But if you can't get your team to the Super Bowl, I mean, in 4 straight years you've been to the playoffs, and like 2 out of those 4, or even 3 out of those 4, you've been in the NFC Championship game and lost. I mean, that kind of the morale is probably pretty low for that team. And moving on, we're going to the Houston Texans in the AFC South. And they re-signed tight end Anthony Auclair. They signed Terrence Brooks, safety. They released tackle Marcus Cannon. They re-signed their center Justin Britt, who's been a solid safety for them. And they signed guard AJ Cann for a 2-year, $10 million deal.
All right, so AJ Cann, former Jaguar. I'm gonna just say it like it is. He can get off my team. He can go. He can go to the. He can stay in the division. That just means we're gonna get sacks on him. He's gonna have like we play him twice. We're gonna get sacks on him at least for next year. I guarantee it. AJ Cann, honestly, wasn't terrible. I'm speaking as a Jaguar fan, but he held a lot. Like he's one of the top 10 or 15 guards penalty wise on the offensive line, and he jumps off side like he false starts all the time. He's constantly afraid of getting beat, so he's constantly jumping early. So like I said, I mean we have Scherf now, so AJ Cann can go to the Texans and make some money, I guess.
Yeah.
$5 million a year isn't bad for a guard, though. Like, I mean, that's an underpaid guard, kind of, but have a starter in AJ Cann. So, really, they got a deal on AJ Cann.
Yeah, because guards are kind of hard to find. We're gonna talk about the Colts in just a second, but like Quentin Nelson, he's probably the best left guard in the league right now, and they found him in the draft. I mean, it's not nowadays you find that lineman, that special lineman, in where they got him. Yeah. And moving on to the Colts, Julio, Jack Doyle retired, and they re-signed Mo Alley Cox. Were you able to see Mo Alley Cox play this year?
I seen a little bit. I wasn't really focusing so much on the Colts. But how did he play though?
Mo Alley Cox, I'm pulling up his stats now. He actually, I've some of the primetime games he's been in, and some of the regular games. He's actually been a really solid tight end for them, which is why they re-signed him. Yeah, he had he didn't have. I don't think he had too many yards this season, but he was able to become kind of like a check down spot for Carson Wentz. This year, he had 4 touchdowns and 316 yards, which is not much, but I mean, I think he got injured a little bit this year too.
Well, he was also tight end 2 behind Doyle. So.
Yeah.
For a tight end 2 to step up a little bit, that's been pretty good for him.
It really depends on who the Indianapolis Colts have at quarterback next year. We still don't know.
Yeah, and interesting thing today that happened, the Texans actually declined the Colts to be able to talk to Deshaun Watson, and they don't want Deshaun Watson going to the AFC South, which is kind of petty. Not to be honest, it's kind of petty because they don't want Deshaun Watson having to play him twice a year.
I can imagine the Colts GM office, whether they were virtual or all in the office like what we're doing right now. And someone there was like, I'm going to play a joke on the Texans. Y'all want to see me request a conversation with Deshaun Watson? And they're all kind of sitting around laughing about it because they're like, ain't no way they're going to let us do that. And then he sends the email anyway. And then 2 seconds later, it's denied.
Oh my God. I can just imagine. I can imagine they being so happy because nope. They just press the nope button on the Colts. They're like, no, you can't have him. We're training someone else completely that we don't have to play at all. Imagine they're just looking at the schedule and be like, oh, we don't play this team? All right, we can take him. He can go there.
Yeah.
And moving on to Ian's team, the Jacksonville Jaguars. They made the most splash out of any team in day one of free agency, including
Yeah,
signing my boy Foyesay Loco.
yeah, so this was a very, very good first day as a Jaguar fan. Now, I'm going to go into depth a little bit on a couple of these because um, I've been on Jaguar Twitter as well as like the whole NFL Twitter, but like Jaguar Twitter has been there's been a lot of praise and there's been a lot of skepticalness, and I kind of want to address the skepticalness on the Christian Kirk signing. So a lot of people are thinking he's overpaid. And at first glance, Christian Kirk at 3 years, $72 million sound like an overpay. However, the cap hit is not big at all. This year, he'll be playing for a cap hit of only $1.5 million, which is huge because that's a super small number for wide receiver. And then next year, the cap hit is $15 million. So that's also not that big of a number, especially if he proves himself this year as a legit number one receiver. That's part of the issue as well. We don't know if he can be a number one receiver because he's been playing behind D-Hop. He's been wide receiver number 3, basically, over there. So we'll see how Christian Kirk does. The third year is where all the guaranteed like money is. If they release him, there's no dead cap hit. So it was a very team-friendly contract, and a lot of people don't understand it because, yes, 3 years at $72 million was an overpay for Christian Kirk. He's not worth, what is that? That's like $24 million a year, right? He's not worth that much. He's not worth $24 million a year, but it's team-friendly, and he's not making that. He's making $16 million in his first 2 years. So, and a lot of that's incentives. That's not base salary, incentives and stuff. So I think the Christian Kirk signing was super good. I'm excited to see Christian Kirk on the team. And there's still the possibility of Allen Robinson or re-signing DJ Chark. So I think that's going to be huge.
I think the Jaguars made a lot of great moves today. I mean, they got another lineman who can protect Trevor Lawrence, Brandon Sheriff, who's a Pro Bowl guard. And he's been playing. He played really well for Washington. And even D lineman Fatu Saki. Sorry, I don't know how to pronounce his name, but yeah, he was a solid D end. I believe he was on the Jets, and he was a really good tackle for them. And real quick, there's some news that just popped up for the Chiefs. Frank Clark reworked his deal so he could stay in Kansas City. And his new deal is 2 years, $29 million with an upside to $36 million with incentives and everything. But also...
more news. The Vikings just released defensive tackle Michael Pierce.
Ooh.
Yeah, that was one of their big guys up in the trenches. And that's, I think, that's... I think that's because he wasn't playing as well as he could have.
Ian, also, how do you feel about the Giants tight end coming to your team?
Okay, so I watched Evan Ingram a good bit. I think he's got butterfingers. I think with a good wide receiver coach or a good tight ends coach, they can fix that. But the fact of the matter is he's one of the fastest tight ends in the league.
Yeah.
So a very solid pickup. I think him and Dan Arnold are going to be a very good tandem. I think on the last episode I was talking about that we needed to get a good tight end. I was preferring Zach Ertz, but then this morning they obviously got the 3-year deal over in Arizona. Congratulations to him. So Evan Ingram on a 1-year prove-it deal, there's nothing wrong with that. It's a good signing for me.
Just by these signings, I mean, Foyesay Lucon, hell of a player for Atlanta, and lead the team in tackles. Outperformed Deion Jones last year when Deion Jones had an off season. And that's just a really good signing. I think he's gonna be a good player for Jaguars. And
him and Miles Jack together is gonna be really nice.
That's gonna be a nice linebacker room. They're both super fast, and they both can really play. I really think the Jacksonville Jaguars, they're making really big moves, and I think we see an improvement next year just by these day one signings. I think they they just won them some games. I mean, it's too early to tell, but I think these players are good enough to be able to perform.
Yeah, this is instant. Everything they did was all needs. They didn't just pick up anybody. They literally picked up each need. We needed help at the wide receiver room, help at the linebacker, we needed a tight end, and we needed some defensive line help. Now, we still have the number 1 pick for an edge rusher, so that defensive line, if we get a Hutchinson, is going to be scary.
Aiden Hutchinson already sounds scary with Miles Jack and Josh Allen
Yeah,
and
it's
Boysa
got
Luakun.
potential.
Yeah, that team has Jaguars have a lot of potential right now. And hey, if you're like Ian, you should be super excited. I mean, if you get Aiden Hutchinson, I mean, I think you guys might even make a push at making the playoffs even. I mean, maybe that's too early right now, but with Trevor Lawrence, if he gets a line and a pass rush and more good defensive players, I mean, anything can happen.
And now he's got a tight end, so
yeah, and and Zay Jones. So we got another wide receiver as well in Zay Jones. So as of right now, the wide receiver room is Christian Kirk, Marvin Jones, Zay Jones, Laviska Shenault, Jamal Agnew, who is a awesome special teams player, and he's got a couple when he's on a jet sweep. Jamal Agnew is super fast. In the tight end room, you've got Ingram. You've got Dan Arnold, who Dan Arnold would be a number 1 tight end on probably 10-ish teams. So you've got 2 number 1 tight ends in a sense. You've got Travis Etienne coming off his injury. They have James Robinson as well, and they have Trevor Lawrence. So I'm super excited for the offensive side of the ball this upcoming year, and the fact that we grabbed a couple defensive players and have the number 1 pick for a defensive player, I'm super excited.
Yeah, and definitely if any Jacksonville Jaguars team or player or somebody listening, me and Ian are going to a couple of Jaguar games this year. We're actually going to go probably, yeah, we're going to go to some Jaguar games this year, and it's going to be really fun. So if you guys want to give us field passes or anything like that, we would be honored. And
or a signed helmet.
Or, yep, exactly. 2 signed helmets for us or jerseys.
Trevor Lawrence.
Exactly. But now we're moving on to the Kansas City Chiefs. They franchise tagged Orlando Brown Jr. And they re-signed fullback Michael Byrne. Not too much, but Julio. These are some small moves, but they help out in the end.
I think so. Honestly, getting rid of the Honey Badger. I don't know. I like the Honey Badger on the Chiefs. He was a fast safety. He was it was like playing Madden 19 with Troy Polamalu at middle linebacker. It was just like freaking. You can run. You seen him run across the field and one right to the other for the tackle or whatever. It was like he was. He was the chief. Like he was really good at safety. But yeah, now they got Justin Reed. Which is he was really good on the Texans. He was a good safety. He's a big boy safety too. He's not small like Tyron. But the Chiefs, I don't know. I have mixed feelings about the Chiefs. Yeah, they're a Super Bowl team, but I just don't know where they really need improvement. Their O-line's really good-ish. I don't know. I feel like Patrick Mahomes has to run a lot around them. But I don't know. Maybe I could see him picking up maybe a running back or something like that.
Yeah, that's fair. I think running back help would help him. And defensive side of the ball. I mean, they need some help on the defense now with the Honey Badger gone. I think Justin Reed was a good pickup, but I mean, Tyrann Mathieu was the heart and soul of the defense, so they're going to have to figure out. They're going to need some help still.
Yeah, Frank Clark restructuring that deal to stay with them actually kind of helps them out too. And that O-line just is improved a little bit from the Super Bowl, after the Super Bowl when Patrick Mahomes couldn't even stand in the pocket for his life.
Yeah.
Literally running out of the pocket for his life.
Yeah, like every single play. As soon as the snap started, he had to run to the right or run to the left. It was just insane. But they fixed that a little bit, and they're franchise tagging one of those pieces that they need. And they're still correct me if I'm wrong, but I think they're still working on a deal with Tyreek Hill. I don't think they've actually Ian, have they actually done anything with that yet?
I don't have any news on Tyreek Hill at the moment.
Okay, yeah, no. So they still working on a Tyreek Hill deal, so that probably played into how much he was asking, played into why they didn't keep the Honey Badger, because they probably didn't have the cap space to be able to keep
Yeah.
Honey Badger as well. Um, and now moving on to another team in that division, the Las Vegas Raiders. They didn't do too much at all. They released one of the linebackers, Square Littleton, so their whole team basically stayed the same, which is really good. Because I mean, hey, they got a team around them. They just gotta figure out some defensive players, and they gotta. I think they have to like boost that O line just a little bit more, and I think they have the receivers around them.
Yeah, and then
Yeah.
you also got, you want to talk about cap space. They literally, got Max Crosby for almost $100 million deal for 4 years. Yeah, that guy's a beast. But $100 million, he's not an Aaron Donald or something like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Last year he proved he could play as well. He kind of like that just by judging him by 1 year. He kind of proved he can play like Aaron. Like I'm not comparing him to Aaron Donald at all because they're two different people entirely. But he had the most pressures out of. I mentioned this in our previous podcast multiple times. He's had the most pressures out of any rusher all of last season. He had the most pressures, which is in crazy because he got double teamed a lot, and also he didn't have really any other pass rushers to help him out. So that's just crazy in itself. And that's probably why they re-signed him for that big of a deal, because I think if he can improve, he can be one of those top rushers.
He's a beast. Yeah, most definitely.
And in the same division, the Los Angeles Chargers, they signed cornerback J.C. Jackson, former Patriot, to a 5-year, $82.5 million deal. They re-signed Mike Williams to a 3-year, $60 million deal that we heard about a little bit while ago. They signed D lineman Austin Johnson, and they also signed, which I think is a good pickup, D lineman Sebastian Joseph Day to a 3-year, $24 million. I think Sebastian Joseph Day is a solid D tackle. He's playing solid his whole career, and they got him for a good deal too.
Yeah, and don't forget they traded for Khalil Mack earlier last week. So they we said a couple weeks ago that the Chargers need to ramp up their defense. Their offense is perfectly fine where it is, and they kept everybody on offense. They didn't really release anybody that I see, and they picked up a very good corner, two good defensive linemen, and a good edge rusher. So the Chargers are going to be set next year.
Yeah, honestly, the funny thing is, it's like when we were with the Jacksonville Jaguars, and Ian was saying, oh, they can take that old lineman, they can take that. I can't say that with J.C. Jackson. I kind of wanted him to stay on the Patriots. I can't say I don't have anything bad to say to be like, oh yeah, Chargers can have him. I loved him on the Patriots. He was the second interception leader in the whole entire league, which, just under Trayvon Diggs, I think with only like 2 interceptions less, 2 or 3. That he was just he was a star on the Patriots. He always came up with clutch plays. I honestly I feel like just looking from JC Jackson, he was like he actually played a lot better than what Stephon Gilmore did.
Yeah, and J.C. Jackson is such a huge pickup for this Chargers team, who their main issue and why they didn't make the playoffs is their defense. Um, and especially that interior alignment. They kind of maybe just fixed it a little bit just with those lead lineman signings. I mean, we'll see this year, upcoming season. But that cornerback, J.C. Jackson, he's a good player, and it's surprising that the Patriots actually let him go. I know Bill Belichick doesn't like to pay too much for his players, and he probably has a plan set for that cornerback's position. But he released Stephon Gilmore too, and he didn't play well this year. He played okay, but J.C. Jackson is completely different. Like Julio said, second interceptions with I believe 11, and that's just crazy to me. And I think the Chargers are just gonna be even better. Ian, correct me if I'm wrong. Don't they still have Casey Hayward?
Yes.
Yeah, so that cornerback room just improves a little bit. Ian, why don't you take us to the Rams?
All right. So the Los Angeles Rams, they made a couple moves to their offensive line. They re-signed Joseph Noteboom to a 3-year, $40 million deal, and they re-signed Brian Allen, the center, for a 3-year, $24 million deal. Very good moves for them. They didn't sign anybody new, but of course the Rams a little bit of cap issues, so I don't know if they make many more moves. We all know they don't have any first round picks for the next like 3 years, so um, they got to draft well in the second, third, and fourth round.
Yeah, they're in kind of a situation right now if they want to improve because those first round picks are gonna eat at them. Not now, but they're gonna eat in a couple years. They're gonna eat at them hard, and they're gonna be a rebuilding team soon, and they won't be able to really do much. And yeah, I think the Rams they're a Super Bowl contender again this year. I'm not surprised if they make it back because they're gonna bring almost everyone back. Maybe except for Von Miller and OBJ, but I think they do re-sign OBJ to somewhat of deal because I think he does want to come back. Um,
Yeah, I was just gonna move us on to the Dolphins if you're done.
oh yep, yep.
Okay, we get it. We won the Super Bowl. They're good. All right.
Okay, so the Dolphins probably made. If the Jaguars made the most noise, the Dolphins made the second most noise. The Chargers signed the biggest players. Jaguars probably spent kind of the most money. The Dolphins, though, they signed the most. So they franchise tagged Mike Gesicki. A lot of Dolphins fans aren't really happy about it because he's not a very good blocking tight end. He is a very good receiving tight end. That was good. I personally wanted Mike Gesicki. He was my number one option, like before the offseason even started. I wanted Mike Gesicki, and then Zach Ertz was number 2 for me. Then it was CJ Uzama for now he's a Jet, but then fourth would have been. I didn't really actually ever think of Evan Ingram, to be honest. I didn't know the name was even a free agent, but I'm so happy with the pickup. So then they signed edge rusher Emmanuel Ogba to a 4-year, $65 million deal. Signed running back Chase Edmonds to a 2-year, $12.6 million deal. They signed wide receiver Cedric Wilson to a 3-year, $22.8 million deal. They signed QB Teddy Bridgewater to a 1-year, $6.5 million deal. They re-signed backup quarterback Chris Streveler, a 1-year to be determined money amount. And then they signed cornerback Keon Crozen, a 3-year, $10.5 million deal.
Yeah. Real quick, we just got some news. It's gonna be, I guess, if Julio's team, the Patriots, they just re-signed kicker Nick Folk to a 2-year, $5 million extension that includes $2.19 million guaranteed. Yeah.
I like that. I love Nick Folk. Once Steven Gostkowski left, and once we got Nick Folk, he was he became like one with the team. But yeah, we'll get to the Patriots a little bit later. Don't worry.
We also have the details of the Jaguars guard Brandon Scherf are finally announced. It's a 3-year, $49.5 million deal with $30 million fully guaranteed and $33 million in the first 2 years. So basically, like we were saying earlier about AJ Cann being at $5 million a year, a good guard is worth I can't do the math off the top of my head. 3-year, 50, basically 50 million. So a little over 17 million, something
Yeah,
like
it's like
that.
17, 18 million.
Something like that.
So that was a big spend for the Jaguars. And actually, I just seen a tweet when I clicked on this and I was looking at the comments. The last time the Jaguars spent money like this, 2017, and they made the AFC Championship. So I'm not saying that's going to happen again, but it's really good as a Jaguar fan to look at that.
One of the interesting things that the Dolphins did was sign quarterback Teddy Bridgewater as their backup quarterback. I'm pretty sure he's going to be their backup quarterback, at least QB2.
Yeah.
This goes to show that they have a kind of B plan if Tua doesn't work out as well as they hope. Mike Gesicki, that signing I liked. He proved to be a really good tight end for them last year. And Teddy Bridgewater, he might even start a game if Tua doesn't play very well at all. Yeah, this is Tua's prove-it deal. So we're gonna see if Tua stays with the Dolphins or he doesn't, and then they're gonna have to work with Teddy Bridgewater if it doesn't work out.
I like what they did there with the wide receiver room, picking up Cedric Wilson. So, I mean, got Jalen Waddle. He had a good rookie year. I mean, he didn't blow it out like Mark Chase did, but he was kind of overshadowed by that. But Jalen Waddle had a good year considering Tua was the one throwing him the ball. So I like that they picked up Chase Edmonds for their running back room. So now they have a decent running game as well. So we should see Tua take some good strides this year, I think.
Yeah, Julio, these Dolphins made a hell of a lot of moves. Is there anything particular you really wanted to talk about or you would really like?
I actually really like. I agree with Ian. I really like the Cedric Wilson, um, you know, trade only in deal because, when when he was on, on the Cowboys, he was pretty decent on the Cowboys. Like honestly, he had some games. He was like, if you pull up the stats, he had, everyone has their ons and offs, but honestly, like he had some games. It was 5 receptions, 130 yards. It was just like I think the Dolphins really needed that. I think Tua really needs someone else to throw to, other than Speedy Boy Jalen Waddle. So I think having Mike Gesicki and Cedric Wilson is gonna be like some key features for Tua to throw to.
Yeah, to add on to that, Cedric Wilson was as good as he was being a wide receiver number 4.
Yeah.
I mean, so the fact that he was able to get touches as a wide receiver 4 when you're overshadowed by CeeDee Lamb, Amari Cooper, Michael Gallup, and then you have Tony Pollard and Zeke, and you have Schultz. Like it was just like they had so much talent on that team. So I definitely like that Cedric Wilson's going to get a bigger role. I think that's super awesome for Tua to be able to throw him the ball. And then I said it, but Emmanuel Ogba was a really good signing for them on the edge.
Yeah, we weren't even sure if they were gonna sign him or not. He was reported to being released. We talked about that last podcast, but they re-signed him, and hey, he's a really good pass rusher, and they're gonna use him well. I really think that through the games that I watched with Dolphins, he was a really good pass rusher, and he's gonna help that team a lot. Moving on to the Minnesota Vikings. They extended QB Kirk Cousins to a 1-year, $35 million deal, so he's getting all that guaranteed, which is something some people probably wouldn't do, but I think that's what you have to do. I mean, if you're not trading for a quarterback, I don't even think you need to trade for a quarterback right now, unless Kirk Cousins shows he can't play, but he's shown he can't play. I talked about last podcast. He only had he had a low amount of interceptions and had like 37 touchdowns, and he was really safe with the football. I mean, you have to have a whole team around you to make the playoffs, and unfortunately they didn't when they were probably supposed to make it with that team around them. but unfortunately they didn't. And I think Kirk Cousins gets a lot of slack from a lot of people. And they also signed D lineman Harrison Phillips. And Ian just told us some breaking news that they released one of their D linemen. So that's probably why.
Yeah, I agree. Kirk Cousins might not be a top 10 quarterback. But he's 100% in between the 10 and 20 mark. And that to me, honestly, he's probably more in the 10 to 15 mark, if I'm being honest. Over 30 touchdowns. I said it last week. Russell Wilson has less touchdowns a year than Kirk Cousins has. And Kirk Cousins they have similar weapons. I'll give it to him. The running back room for Minnesota is better. The O line's better. Justin Jefferson's better than DK. Adam Thielen, I don't think's better than Tyler Lockett. So I don't know. I think Kirk Cousins definitely gets too much of the blame when the defense allowed the Lions to beat him last year. So
And they literally were built to be a good defensive team.
right. The Lions won their first game against the Vikings, and Vikings scored 27 points. If an offense can score 27 points, the loss it can be on the offense, but most time, if you can score 27 points on offense, the defense needs to step up and prevent them from scoring 26. You know?
Yeah, and one weird thing about that game, the offense wasn't explosive. A lot of people thought that Vikings offense was going to be explosive this year, and it just wasn't. And it just all crumbled down to them not making the playoffs, them firing Mike Zimmer. He did all he could, but at the end of the day, he didn't do enough. Julio, what do you think about Kirk Cousins?
Kirk Cousins, I think he's like Ian said, 10 to 15 quarterback. If you want to compare him to like Russell Wilson, I'll probably take Kirk Cousins over Russell Wilson. I don't know. I just feel like I see more of a veteran out of Kirk Cousins than Russell Wilson. But just the Minnesota Vikings in general, I love that pickup from Harrison Phillips from the Buffalo Bills. I think it was a really a decent pickup. Yeah, they went down. Because Ian, you said that the Vikings released a D tackle already.
Right, yeah. Just a little
So I think picking up Harrison Phillips, giving him less money than what whoever they released is a good pickup. But yeah, I think the Vikings are an up and coming team. I would love to see them perform like a lot more, especially young Justin Jefferson.
Yeah, that team should be making strides next year. If they don't, I think if that offense doesn't do anything, I think Kirk Cousins is going to be gone, and they kind of messed up a little bit. But they're going to realize that if it is, Kirk Cousins could play extremely well and they make the playoffs. That's literally the point where they're at. Either they make the playoffs or they don't. That's where they're at this point.
They're getting an offensive-minded head coach in O'Connell, James offensive coordinator. So this is definitely the year for the Vikings.
Yeah. Moving on to Julio's team, the New England Patriots. They released their linebacker Kyle Van Noy. They re-signed quarterback Brian Hoyer to a 2-year, $4 million deal. They re-signed a guard, James Ferentz. They re-signed safety Devin McCourty to a 1-year, $9 million deal. And re-signed wide receiver Matthew Slater to a 1-year, over $2.5 million deal. Julio, your thoughts?
Yeah. I love what they did. I love how they kept Devin McCourty. Obviously, we lost Jason McCourty. I think last year we lost him to the Dolphins. But me personally, as a Patriots fan, it's just I just love watching them. You got your target. You got Mac Jones. Mac Jones first year making the playoffs. Losing to the Bills, which I kind of had a feeling was going to happen. Pratesh and I, we were like, I was trying to convince him that they were going to win. But he was like, no, they're not going to win. Were they playing Buffalo? Yeah, they're not going to win. But they got absolutely blown out. Absolutely blown out. I kind of we were texting back. We were kind of texting back and forth, like, "Oh my God, Mac Jones touchdown!" And then it just went downhill from there. It was like, being a Patriots fan is like has its on and off days, like any other team. But I just the one thing I do hope for is I'm excited for is what Bill Belichick's gonna do with that open corner spot, though. That's what I'm excited for.
Yeah. To be fair though, no one really expected the Patriots to move past the wild card if they did make the playoffs. And you guys made the playoffs. That's huge with a rookie quarterback. Bill
Yeah.
Belichick is a really good coach, and he's kind of proven that if some people thought that Brady was making him, no, both of them were helping each other out, and that's why they work so well because they both were great at their coach position and at quarterback, and that's why the relationship worked well. And you see now, Mac Jones. He's a rookie quarterback and he made the playoffs his first year. I mean, that's all. That's good enough. I mean, the Patriots fan base should be happy right now with what they've done in their first year.
And honestly, from the get go, from week 1 to 5, everyone was saying, Mac Jones isn't throwing to the tight ends. Mac Jones isn't throwing to the tight ends. And then, it was said in practice that Bill Belichick was super heavy on Mac Jones training with the tight ends more than like the wide receivers. And then you actually just seen Hunter Henry's stats just blow up after that. Especially picking up Hunter Henry, taking, from the Chargers, now Mac Jones is just going to learn from here.
Yeah, Ian. Any thoughts on the Patriots?
Yeah, the one curious thing, I mean, obviously, I understand why they didn't keep J.C. Jackson. His cap hit just a little too high. And the way their defense is set up, the defense is still going to be good without J.C. Jackson.
Yeah, we still got Jalen Mills,
Yeah, the whole team's still good. The only other one that I was a little curious about was when they released Kyle Van Noy. I thought he was a solid linebacker. I guess maybe he was wanting too much money.
Yeah, Kyle Van Noy is a really good linebacker. I expected them to keep him. It's just weird because I think Bill Belichick has a plan. It's so weird that he gets rid of these good players and they just end up not doing good on other teams. It's kind of like a Bill Belichick effect. If you go to the Patriots, they do good. If they don't, hey, they're not going to play as well. It's weird in that scenario.
Yeah. I honestly thought they were going to franchise tag Kyle Van Noy, honestly.
They didn't use their franchise tag.
No, they haven't yet.
Yeah.
I think it's too late now.
Oh, yeah, maybe. Oh, well, actually,
it was like last Tuesday at 4 p.m. or something.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's weird they didn't. Well, I don't think they have anyone on defense they could really franchise tag.
Well, I feel like the only person they really could franchise tag is Matthew Slater, but
he's not gonna. They just signed him to a cheap deal.
Yeah, because I was gonna say the franchise tag would have paid him like $15 million or something like that. Like,
yeah,
franchise tag on a wide receiver is like really expensive.
Yeah, and moving on. The New Orleans Saints didn't do anything. They didn't do too much. We talked about if they did anything. Any news on the Saints? Definitely check out our previous podcast. I don't think if you guys have anything to talk about the Saints, definitely go ahead. But nothing too big. If you guys want to see anything Saints related, I think we talked about it in all our podcasts actually. So definitely go check those out.
The only thing about the Saints was Deshaun Watson met with the Saints and the Panthers today. So obviously he can't make the decision where he goes, but he does have a no trade clause. So he literally pretty much gets to pick where he goes.
Yeah. I really think that the Steelers honestly should have. should have signed Deshaun Watson, but they actually came out and said they didn't want to, and now they signed Mitchell Trubisky. And I'm actually really happy for Mitchell Trubisky. We'll talk
Yeah,
about
I
this when
am.
we get to the Steelers, but yeah, I'm really happy for Mitchell Trubisky. Yeah. Julio, anything on the Saints? You,
No, I got really no comment on States. They didn't do anything yet. But who's gonna have they decided who's gonna be their starter quarterback? Is it Ian Book?
no, they haven't
No, they
decided
haven't.
anything
They
yet.
haven't announced it.
Okay. Yeah, but I'm kind of ready to see how the Saints are gonna go with it. Who they're actually gonna start.
A
But
brand new head coach too.
yeah, I think they're ready to start. Rebuilding. Hopefully, they got a decent wide receiver core ish. Got Slant God, but I think that's really much. That's as much as they have. But I think they got some time to like start thinking of like what they're actually gonna do, who they're gonna start now.
Yeah. And we're just going to go ahead and move on. We're going to the New York Giants. They re signed wide receiver CJ Board. And they also re signed Matt Gono, tackle, and guard Mark Glowinski to a 3 year, $20 million deal. And they also signed another guard in John Feliciano. And their line wasn't great. So this just helps a little bit because that's literally three linemen right there. Two they re-signed and one new guy. And if Daniel Jones gets protection, I mean, hey, we'll see how he does. This is his prove it year again, just like Tua. This is Daniel Jones' prove it year.
Yeah, I'm really curious to see how that offense is going to look under DeBoll. Um, and like you said, they are going kind of heavy signing offensive linemen. Daniel Jones's big issue is he fumbles the ball. So if they can fix the offensive line, they kind of help Daniel Jones in a good way because if they can protect his blind side, he won't fumble as much. I know I was talking with my girlfriend's dad today. Um, he was asking me about what I felt about the Jaguar news and stuff, but he texted me his exact words were, um, with all the moves the Jaguars made today. So the rumor now is Aiden Hutchinson, defensive end, is going to be number one. So Giants fans right now are really hoping that somehow a offensive tackle falls down to number 5. I doubt Evan Neal's going to be available at number 5. If the Lions just got done last year, they drafted a lineman and keep wanting to say Wirfs, but it's not Wirfs. It's Penei Sewell 2 years ago. Sorry. So I doubt they go offensive line. I think they go edge as well. You have the Texans. Who knows what the Texans are going to do? They need so much help everywhere. Like, why draft a lineman if you have no quarterback to protect? So who knows? They might just go with a corner or another edge rusher. But they could obviously go offensive line, and then the Jets are the next team up.
Yeah,
So,
before we head to the Jets, just got some news that former Chiefs cornerback Charvarius Ward, he just signed a 3 year deal worth up to $42 million, including almost $27 million guaranteed with the San Francisco 49ers.
ooh.
And Charvarius Ward, he played well this year. And that just adds to an already amazing defense in San Francisco 49ers. I mean, that team looks scary from a defensive standpoint.
Yeah, I love that pickup. That's very good. I don't know about money wise, but this is huge for them.
Yeah, just that. I mean, it's like kind of overkill on that defense because you got so many good players on defense, even at depth positions too. Um, yeah. Go ahead, Ian. You were talking about the Jets.
Oh, no, I was kind of still talking on the Giants, but the Jets are the next pick at 4. Maybe they're 3 and Texans are 4. I can't remember exactly what it is, but uh, the Jets just went kind of heavy at the guard position today. So there's a chance that the Giants get a tackle at number 5 in the draft next year or this upcoming year.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting. I don't know if they draft a lineman, um, but they, I think they actually go defense. I think they get either a pass rusher or even a corner linebacker. Yeah, and thank you, Asian, for the sub at tier 1.
Let's
Um,
go.
Let's go.
but yeah, Julio, you want to take us to the Jets?
Yeah. So what we got here for the Jets? Jets are re-signing Tevin Coleman. They didn't. I don't know if you guys have it on your list on how much, but on my list, I don't see
Oh,
the
they
amount.
just announced it. Let me literally just announced it a couple minutes ago. Let me see. Evan Coleman's deal is for 1 year and $1.5 million with $650K guaranteed and $2.3 million with incentives.
Okay.
So $1.5 million is not bad.
Yeah, no, not
Yeah,
for Tevin Coleman.
yeah, no, that's not
They,
bad.
they also re-signing Braxton Barros on a 2-year, $12 million contract. Decent wide receiver.
Yeah, I really like that pickup as well. He was very good in fantasy.
Yeah. Um, then they also signed former or previous Bengals player CJ Uzma, signing a 3-year deal worth $24 million. I think that's a really good pickup. I think the Jets actually needed a like a decent tight end. Then they also picked up some O linemen. They picked up a tackle, Connor McDermott, for a 1-year contract. They picked up a guard, Lakin Tomlinson, signing a 3-year, $40 million deal. There goes another decent, a decent O lineman that's getting paid pretty good. Then they're also re-signing Lamarcus Joyner for a 1-year contract as well. You know,
Yeah, like Ian was saying, that Braxton Barrios thing is really good. He was a solid receiver this year, especially in fantasy, and even on the field too. And that's gonna add some needed wide receiver help with Corey Davis as well, and they have Braxton Barrios too. Tim Coleman, I think he's just another, like, they just need a running back, so they just give him another chance. And just bring up a
TJ
hypothetical.
Uzomah,
Yeah, CJ Uzomah is an amazing tight end,
very
and
good
I'm
pickup.
surprised the Bengals let him go. Like
He was a big part of their offense.
he was, and I'm pretty sure that was to sign more linemen for Joe Burrow. Um, and I think that's a really good pickup. I think Zach Wilson's gonna have a lot of weapons. And I'm gonna bring up a hypothetical question. Um, so who do you guys think is the worst defense in the league?
Worst defense in the league?
Mm-hmm. I'm gonna add a question onto that, but just let me know who you think is the worst defense.
Ooh. My heart wants to say the Jaguars.
yeah.
Honestly,
I wanted to say that, but you're in here, so I was like, I'll pick another.
I would think it's either the Texans or the Jaguars.
I think I think it's the Texans. Honestly, if I'm being honest. But it brings me to a
But
point. Oh yeah, go
let me
ahead.
just say the Jaguars had a couple games this year or last year where they looked really freaking good against the Colts, against the Bills. They looked like a competent team against those. So like that's the only reason I was like a little hesitant to say the Jaguars, because those two games probably like mess with the stats a little bit when you only allow 6 points to the top 5 offense in the league, the Bills, and then you hold the Colts, which should have made the playoffs. So I would go Texans actually.
Okay, so who do you agree, Texans?
I agree, Texans. Yeah.
So it brings me to a point. This might be a little funny. It is gonna be funny. So do you think they would be able to defend against the world's largest cookie?
Wait. Is this a comment? In is this a
This is a comment.
yeah? Is this like a question
It's
in
kind of a
the chat?
hypothetical because, like, if I guess I could word it to where would they be able to eat the world's largest cookie?
I mean, they
Like
just lost
defeat?
Justin Reed, so their best defensive player is gone. So probably not.
Like, are you saying like are they going against the cookie, or do they have to eat the cookie?
They're going against the world's biggest cookie.
Hang on, let me look up what the world's biggest cookie is.
I don't think it's too big, but if it's like, also we could compare it to like as big as a building, even if we had
like
to.
a stadium.
Yeah, even as not a stadium, because then they couldn't really tackle the cookie.
Wait,
what's the biggest cookie?
1,000 pounds was 101 foot in diameter.
Oh my god! Yeah, that cookie.
No way the Texans beat that.
No, definitely not.
No, they don't.
Is it a chocolate chip cookie though?
Yes, it was a chocolate chip cookie.
Oh yeah, no, it's over. It's over.
No way.
You're welcome. You're welcome, Asian. He's dying laughing. But yeah, no. I think the Texans, their defense is so bad that even a giant cookie, I don't think they go against unless they ate it. But now we get.
Unless they had a glass of milk to pour on it to make it soft. That's about it.
That too. And you think all three of us could eat the world's largest cookie?
I don't know about that.
We'd have to have more people, you think?
Yeah.
Do you think me alone?
Like 2 months.
Maybe us and the Texans defense.
Yeah.
Yeah, that might actually. Yeah, I think. Okay. I'm interested now to actually see that cookie. Yeah, but moving on to the Philadelphia Eagles. They signed Edge.
Oh,
what just happened?
Man, I just got bamboozled.
Oh, okay.
Man, I Ian Rappaport popped up, and it had like a little check mark, but it's not a check mark. It's just a random emoji that looks like a check mark, and it says the Ravens and Tyrann Mathieu reached an agreement on a 4-year, $62 million deal. But it's fake. It's not.
Aw, damn.
That's why I was like, what the heck? No way that just happened.
That would have been huge.
That would have been pretty good for the Ravens.
Yeah, that'd been. Oh my god, yeah. But Philadelphia Eagles, they signed edge rusher. I think this is a really Hassan Reddick to a 3-year, $45 million deal. I think the Cardinals. I think they need help. They got rid of Chandler Jones, and now they lost Hassan Reddick. This is a big pickup, obviously, for the Eagles. They're building up that defense. And this is just a really good pickup. It's day one of free agency, and they could pick up a lot more.
Wait, wasn't Hassan Reddick on the Panthers?
Oh, no, he was on the Panthers. My bad.
Yeah.
My bad. I think he did play for... Did he play for the Cardinals? Correct me if I'm wrong.
He was drafted by the Cardinals.
Okay.
Yeah, first team Cardinals. Yeah.
Yeah. Any guys' thoughts on the Eagles?
I have a feeling that they're going to be trading Gardner Minshew.
That's your favorite boy.
No. They could trade him to the Colts, and then what do I do then?
Ooh.
No.
Hey, you get yourself a Colts jersey.
But I can't wear my Gardner Minshew jersey to a Jaguar game against the Colts.
Yeah, good point. Oh my god.
They also kept Jason Kelce too, as their veteran center anyway.
Yeah, that's been really good for them. I think he might retire soon, so they won't have him for too much longer. He's getting older.
Also, teams are very interested in Fletcher Cox.
Yeah,
there's a
big D tackle, and he's getting older and older.
Yeah.
Yeah, 31 years old right now. The latest teams are the Steelers, Bills, Chargers. Maybe the Chargers have slowed down. This was two days ago. The Chargers might not be interested now that they just spent all this money. Steelers, Bills, Chargers interested in Eagles. Star Fletcher Cox.
Yeah. The Pittsburgh Steelers made some moves, and they found a starting quarterback in Pittsburgh quarterback Mitchell Trubisky to a 2-year, $14.2 million contract. And let me just say this, Mitchell Trubisky, I'm super happy for him because I think Mitchell Trubisky got so much slack for being on that Bears team, and he played well in that wild card game, where he threw a perfect post route to wide receiver, and he dropped it in the end zone, which would have changed that momentum of the game, and probably they could have even won that game. And people are going hard. I think this is a really good pickup for the Steelers. I think Mike Tomlin will be able to use him well. I think Mitch Trubisky isn't a horrible quarterback. I think he deserves to start somewhere that needs a quarterback. They also re-signed cornerback Arthur Mollett to a 2-year deal. They re-signed tackle Chukwuma Okafor, who was a really good tackle for them last year. 3 years, $29 million. And they signed center Mason Cole to a 3-year, almost $60 million deal.
Yeah, I think those are very good pickups for the Steelers. I'm with you. Mitchell Trubisky hasn't played very well for the Bears. But a lot of that's due to coaching. And I think Mitchell Trubisky, this is a perfect opportunity. He's on a playoff caliber team now. And Mitchell Trubisky, in my opinion, will play better than Big Ben did last year. And his contract's very, very team friendly, but it's also Mitchell Trubisky friendly because there's incentives that go up to like $28 million a year if he performs well.
I fully expect him to play well. Julio, your thoughts on Mitchell Trubisky?
Well, I got a question for you guys.
Okay.
Do you think Mitch Trubisky is very similar to his ex partner Josh Allen?
I don't know.
Tough to see.
I know he does have a kind of an arm, but not as big as arm as Josh Allen. I think he's a kind of a different style. I think he's more of a pocket passer than just go out of the pocket and throw it. I think it's more of that pocket passer, but he's agile enough to get out of the pocket. I think he can make some really accurate throws if he gets time in that pocket.
Yeah, I'm glad he's getting the opportunity. I agree. I think he learned a good bit from Josh Allen. I think he's going to be a better quarterback than he has been. But Josh Allen has a bigger arm to me, and Josh Allen isn't afraid to hurdle
to get hit.
Yeah, and that's my only difference between them.
Yeah, I guess a good comparison for Mitchell Trubisky is kind of like Daniel Jones a little bit.
But I think he's got way more potential.
Yeah, for sure. Moving on, we talked about Travis Ward just going to the 49ers very recently. And other than that, I think we talked about them a couple podcasts ago. But they haven't really didn't do much today in free agency. Definitely probably will change this week. We'll see. Any thoughts on the 49ers before we move on to the Seahawks?
Well, other than them just grabbing Travarius Ward.
Yeah. I think that's a good pickup. Good pickup.
And do you guys think that what do you think is going to happen with Jimmy G? Do you think Trey Lance is going to be actually starting for this year?
Yeah. I need Trey Lance to start this year. With the way he played in that playoff game and that last drive, I think that just sealed the deal for Jimmy G. I honestly see him going to the Colts. Maybe not
Colts are
soon,
number one right now,
but maybe even at the beginning of the season, like July even.
I think Jimmy G goes to the Colts as well.
Yeah. It's hard to defend Jimmy G when he does stuff like that throw to lose them the playoff game. It's hard to defend him, but other than that, he did play well, decent, at least. In the playoffs, he didn't. At least his defense carried him. We all know that, because that defense was amazing. And moving on to the Seattle Seahawks, we talked about it last week a lot. Ian talked about it too last week. They acquired QB Drew Lock with the trade for Russell Wilson. They acquired Noah Fant, who's a really good tight end. I really have high praise for him. Noah Fant is a fast tight end, and he can catch the ball very well. And they also got a really good D lineman in Shelby Harris. The only thing is that they released their all-pro Bobby Wagner. And there's a little bit of drama between that because Bobby Wagner went out on Twitter and said that they didn't even notify him and
Yeah.
he was a little upset. He said that he's been with them for his whole career, and he only knows from he got the notification from online. Like they didn't even notify him.
That is rough.
Yeah, I guess it's a business, but to have a player that's an all pro, multiple all pro, and multiple Pro Bowl, 8-time Pro Bowler even, and to not even tell him he's getting released. But also they re-signed a good safety in Quandre Diggs recently to a 3-year, $40 million deal. They re-signed another D lineman Al Woods to a 2-year, $9 million deal. They re-signed tight end Will Disley to a 3-year, $24 million deal, and they re-signed Sidney Jones to a 1-year, 3.5, a little over that $1 million deal.
You know, speaking about Bobby Wagner, it'd be really nice if the Patriots picked him up.
I
It'd
could
be
see him
really
going
They have
there.
room
You guys
now?
have cap space. You guys have a lot of cap space.
And getting rid of, Kyle Van Noy, one linebacker gone, Bobby Wagner came over. I think I would be a pretty happy Patriots fan there.
Yeah, Bud Wagner still has some years left in him, and I he's gonna go to a linebacker needy team, and he's automatically gonna improve that team a little bit. Yeah, and Will Disley also he was solid last year,
Yeah, he is.
solid for them.
Oh, yeah.
And also safety Quandre Diggs, he's played really well for them. That was a good draft pickup for the Seahawks.
Do you guys think Drew Lock is a good fit for the Seahawks?
I think they try to find another quarterback, but if they have to, they will start Drew Lock.
Yeah, I don't know. I'd start Geno Smith over Drew Lock.
Same.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I definitely would.
Yeah, because Geno Smith showed he can win games. I mean, some of those games he actually had a chance to win. It was just unfortunate things happened. But they do have weapons for him, Geno Smith, if they do start him. There's some other
Yeah.
quarterbacks that they could pick up, but we still have a long way away from the season, so we'll definitely see more on that. Ian, any last thoughts on the Seahawks? Seahawks?
Yeah, they robbed the Broncos of all their draft picks.
And that's going to be big for this year as well because they
I
have
like the Sidney
they're
Jones
rebuilding.
pickup.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, they're in a rebuilding. We said that last week in our last podcast. They're in a rebuilding stage, and this just helps with all the picks they got for Russell Wilson. They got a steal of a deal with all those picks. That's some really good picks that the Seattle got, and that just helps them even if they wanted to draft a quarterback this year. I don't see him drafting a quarterback this year, but
I
anything's
don't
possible.
either. Hold on. I think they let Geno Smith run it, or if they might let Drew Lock lead it, but I think they hold out one more year.
Yeah, and moving on, Julio, any thoughts on the Seahawks?
No, I'm just excited to see how they're actually with all the trades and everything that they're doing, and getting a bunch of Broncos players now. I'm excited to see what they're actually going to do with it, though.
I think they're going to be able to build a solid team for a rookie quarterback in 2023. And it's going to be kind of, I'm not going to say because Bill Belichick's a way better coach than Pete Carroll, but it's going to be a similar situation where the Patriots had a good team for a rookie quarterback to go into. And I think that Seattle has the potential to do that in 2023.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you. And the next team we're going on to is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Tom Brady's back. Talked about it last week. So definitely they're trying to they basically got their whole team back. They franchise tagged Chris Godwin, which is huge because they'll have that tandem back, Mike Evans, Chris Godwin for Tom Brady. They re-signed center Ryan Jensen, boost that line for Tom Brady, 3 years, $39 million, and then they just re-signed cornerback Carlton Davis for 3 years and $44.5 million.
Like the pickup, I like keeping Carlton Davis. I love the franchise tag, even though he's hurt. I definitely agree. You needed to franchise tag him. And then I like that once Tom Brady came back, like a few minutes later, we got the notification Ryan Jensen signing a deal. So Tom Brady's going to be protected. And now we just got to see how they draft.
Yeah, I'm interested to see how they draft. I don't think they probably just go someone who can be a good depth, who has good depth for that team.
Yeah.
Um,
You seen last year, they got decimated with cornerback injuries.
yeah, they did.
So we'll see. I'm curious to see, now that they spent some money on a corner, what they end up doing.
hmm Yeah. Moving on to the Tennessee Titans, they did a lot of stuff. They re-signed their edge Harold Landry third to 5 years, $87.5 million. Before I go on with all the other signings and stuff, is Harold Landry worth that much?
Mm,
I personally not this. I wouldn't have signed someone as an edge rusher that expensive this year. Now, granted, we don't know what the contract details are. He might not have that big of a cap hit this year, but with the amount of edge rushers that are available in this year's draft, I don't see why you would pay anybody that much.
Yeah, I really don't see it, Julio.
I think he's a very improving, like based on his stats, he's a very improving edge rusher. You know, when he came in 2018, he only had 4.5 sacks the whole year. 2019 he had 9, 2020 went down to 5.5, and then this past year he had 12. You know, so I think he's a very improving edge rusher. You know, they definitely just not Reddick and all just or sorry, Landry and all. I think the Titans like defensive line definitely showed it, especially against the Bengals. 9 sacks in that one game. I think they're just. I think the Titans are just going to be also another like wrecking force that with their defense is nuts.
Yeah, they released a Pro Bowl guard, Roger Shaffold, as well, but they also replaced him and signed guard Jamarco Jones for a 2-year, almost $6 million deal. They also released running back Darrington Evans. He wasn't doing too well, obvious release, and signed tight end Jeff Swain to a 1-year deal. Okay, tight end. They just needed someone for depth, I bet, in that point of view. And then they re-signed center Ben Jones, who's been really good for them. A lot of teams have a really good center, and this is one of them. Ben Jones, solid, 2 years, $14 million. And
I'm trying to find. They just released the numbers for Swam.
okay, yeah, Jeff Swain.
1 year, $3.5 million extension.
Okay, it's not too
Oh, it's
bad.
all guaranteed. It's all fully guaranteed,
Oh, okay.
except for $100K.
Well, yeah, 100K.
Yeah, good depth player. Will probably help a little bit. Not one of those star things. I'm interested to see what they do because AJ Brown's an amazing receiver, Julio Jones is an amazing receiver, but Julio Jones was hurt all year, so I'm kind of interested to see if they do anything with him. Maybe they just keep him. Who knows? But I'm still very interested to see what they do with Julio Jones. Yeah, and
You miss him. It's okay.
a little bit. I mean, not too much anymore. But last but not least, the Washington Commanders. They traded for quarterback Carson Wentz from the Colts, and they released safety Landon Collins, and also re-signed center Tyler Larson for a 1-year deal. Carson Wentz.
Yeah.
Carson Wentz is he. Yeah, we talked about it last podcast. He kind of sealed the deal for the Colts, trading him with that last game against the Jaguars. Cost him a playoff spot. Could have gone far, I believe, if they did make the playoffs. And he's a decent quarterback. He didn't turn the ball over too much, which is what he's known for. Early on in his Eagle years, at least. So he did protect the ball this year. So that's probably some reasoning behind why Washington traded for him, and also because they couldn't get Aaron Rodgers. And Landon Collins is a decent safety, but they probably have some plans for someone else up there. I think they have a little bit of safety depth over there. They also have Troy Apke, I believe, right?
Yeah, and I was gonna say I really do like the Carson Wentz. I don't think Taylor Heineke is the guy, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And I think he's gonna have some solid weapons.
I think it's gonna. Scary Terry is still gonna be Scary Terry, and then Carson Wentz is gonna have some fun over there. Julio, any thoughts on Carson Wentz?
Yeah, I think Carson Wentz is going to be excited because he's got some fresh blood, like young talent on the team. Which, if you really think about it, he really hasn't really had in a long time. And I think I really like him going to the Commanders. But what do you guys think about the name though?
I don't like it at all. I don't
Yeah,
like it.
Is it too generic?
I really think it is.
Yeah.
I mean, Redskins probably just would have been better regardless.
True.
Just went back. They should just went back with that. I think I saw Red Hawks too. I think I like that a little more too.
Yeah, I actually like Red Hawks.
But
then I remember I watched it was like an interview with Chase Young, and they were asking him like all the different names. And once Commanders came up, he was like, "Definitely, hell no, I'm not. I wouldn't do that." And then it became Commanders.
yeah, it's just weird what they did to their name. I mean, they just had to get a name. And it's just weird now. Okay, so I'm gonna ask you guys one last question before we sign off. Who was the biggest free agency signing of day one?
the biggest I'd have to say was J.C. Jackson.
I agree
Made
with
the most
you.
money.
I agree with you there. Also, I think a really big one was Christian Kirk as well.
Oh yeah, that too. Jags made some moves, man. I'm so excited.
Yeah, he definitely should be. They did a lot.
That was funny. Jaguars actually look like they are an NFL team with just the 5 players they added today. It looked like when you hear the names of the players, you're like, man, that's an NFL roster right there. Actually,
Doesn't sound like a Pee Wee football team. You know?
Right. So they just announced the total numbers for the contracts today for the Jaguars. The Jaguars negotiated $229.5 million worth of contracts today.
God.
Christian Kirk, 4 years, $72 million. Brandon Scherf, 3 years, $49.5 million. Oye Aluakon,
Yep.
3 years, $45 million. Folly. How? When this guy gets a sack, how am I going to say his name?
Patuski. I think that's how you say it.
You wanted NFL names now, so you got it.
Patuski, 3 years, $30 million. Zay Jones, 3 years, $24 million. Evan Ingram, 1 year, $9 million. And free agency literally just started.
Yeah. That Jaguar team's going to be awesome.
I'm going to look at the tweet on this while you go on.
Yeah.
Honestly, my answer to your question, Pratesh, I would probably say one of the biggest ones is Amari Cooper going to the Browns.
Yeah, that's a huge trade. Do you have a biggest free agency pickup for today?
Free agency pickup?
Probably
JC Jackson.
Yeah, probably JC Jackson, yeah.
Yeah. Probably JC Jackson.
Yeah, and one more thing I want to bring up while Ian's looking it up. The Falcons, I really think we should sign Chandler Jones if we can. I think that instantly boosts the pass rush. But if we can somehow get Chandler Jones and Jadeveon Clowney, I mean, I think that just helps so much on that line. even with Grady Jarrett, I think we'd have some depth at pass rusher, and we could focus. We could even sign. We could if that happens. If any of those pass rushers get signed, then I think we go with a cornerback if he's available at 8, Derek Stingley Jr. And I think we pair him up with AJ Terrell, and I think that cornerback duo would be so good.
A lot of like, because I follow a couple Falcons fan pages and whatnot, and a lot of people are predicting that the Falcons want to pick up a quarterback.
Yeah, it's weird. It's already set that Matt Ryan's gonna start for them. They restructured his contract again. Matt Ryan's gonna be a starter. For any Falcons fans that doesn't like Matt Ryan, I mean, you're gonna have to deal with it. You're wrong. So I'm just gonna say that I think we all agree here that Matt Ryan should start. Yeah, and I think Matt Ryan, he has some years left in him, and I think we can use him. And if we can build a team around him, he can lead us to a Super Bowl again.
And honestly, I don't even blame him for your guys' season anyway. You guys lost, Julio Jones. You guys lost Calvin Ridley. You guys, Russell Gage is up and coming. Kyle Pitts is just a rookie, which he had to come up like crazy.
Yeah, and Matt Ryan's never had a top 10 defense in his career. Ever. So, I mean, I would like to see that happen before we release him or he retires or something. But, yeah, this is the free agency to do it, and this is also the draft to do it.
Yeah.
I
So I do want to kind of go over Julio. How much more time do you have?
got a little bit.
Okay. I'm just going to name some of the top free agents that are still available, and I'm going to kind of go by position. And, like, I'm reading the list, so, like, I'll kind of, like, stop once I see someone that's obviously probably not going to be a starter. So, quarterbacks that are still available: Jameis Winston, Marcus Mariota, Andy Dalton, Ryan Fitzpatrick, Jacoby Brissett, Tyrod Taylor. Oh, and Geno Smith is actually a free agent.
Oh, dang. Oh, yeah.
Oh.
I didn't even see that. Okay.
And then Joe Flacco is another one.
Oh.
Huh.
So, out of those guys, who do you think has the best chance of getting on a team and starting?
I think that's be hard. I think Geno Smith actually has a little more area to get signed than Joe Flacco. Joe Flacco's older and older, and I don't think people are going to take that chance on him.
You also have Fitzmagic on that list too. You know what I mean?
He's always a solid guy to get you through, but he could retire.
True.
Yeah.
All right.
He will could retire.
Now we'll go running back, and like I said, I'm kind of gonna stop. These are in alphabetical order. Okay. Cordell Patterson, Leonard Fournette.
I think the Falcons re-signed Cordell Patterson. I'm pretty sure they're going to.
I do too. They use them properly. So, Sony Michel, Elvin Gordon, which he's in talks with the Chargers, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Rashad Penny, Marlon Mack.
Let me stop you there real quick. I've read some reports that Marcus Mariota may actually be going to the Colts. And like he's like a big interest for the Colts, and I think that would be a really good signing for the Colts. Marcus Mariota, he's never really proved he can be the quarterback, but if he can work behind a really good O-line and a defense, I think, hey, who knows? He can improve.
Yeah, I agree. I think my top choices for the Colts is obviously number 1, Jimmy G. Number 2 would be Marcus Mariota. 3, Gardner Minshew. 4 would be Jameis Winston, like in that order.
Not your boy Blaine Gabbert?
No. He's gonna be a bench warmer for Tom Brady until he retires, and then he's gonna hope to get a shot.
Another name that kind of sticks out to me is Kurt Benkert. He's never really had a chance to really go out and go out and start, but he can throw the football well. He has an arm and he can play. So I think teams should give him a chance.
Only that he streams on Twitch.
Got two.
Take a side note as to how Ian literally looks like Baby Goat right now.
Here you go. Who's that?
Oh, baby goat.
Right? He looks like it with the hair and everything.
Yeah, he looks like Justin Herbert a little bit.
Yeah.
Dude, I got called Justin Herbert on TikTok the other day.
Oh, really?
Yeah, someone said I look like Justin Herbert's fat brother. Dude, people on TikTok are ruthless.
Yeah, they are. Oh my god.
All right. Now you're always gonna think of that.
Wait. The baby goat XL.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. No. I mean, baby goat is a good nickname too for you too. I mean, that'd be really cool.
The big Baby Goat.
Oh my god.
Oh yeah, I'm getting back to my list. Okay.
Yep.
Rashad Penny, Marlon Mack.
Hey guys, put baby goat XL in the comment if you think so too.
Yep. Hashtag Baby Goat XL.
Raheem Mostert.
Yeah. Oh, he's a free agent. Oh yeah, damn.
Yeah.
Oh, he's gonna get picked up.
J.D. McKissick.
Marlon Mack. He's gonna go to a team. He should go to a team. He still has. He's young. He's young.
Devontae Freeman. Yeah.
He played.
Booker?
Oh dang! If Devontae Freeman's a free agent, he played really well for Ravens. I'm surprised they
The
didn't.
Ravens. Yeah.
Yeah, he played really well for the Ravens.
Giovanni Bernard. Jeff Wilson. Latavius Murray. Le'Veon Bell. Matt Breida. Philip Lindsay. Ronald Jones II. He's a big name. Tariq Cohen.
That whole list is big names.
I'm literally Andy Junovich. Patrick Ricard. I just went through the bigger names. There's some names on here that I don't recognize.
Yeah.
So wide receiver. Still got Allen Robinson.
Patriots.
Odell Beckham. I Ram. Antonio Brown.
Yeah, he's not. Nope, no one's gonna sign him. Yeah, just cross the name off. I don't even know why to put him on there.
Juju.
Ooh, I think Jaguars could potentially pick him up. Honestly.
I don't know. They just signed Christian Kirk. I don't think they can go after Juju.
But if they really wanted a wide receiver one.
Then DJ Chark.
I wouldn't be opposed to Juju on the Falcons either, not gonna lie.
Yeah, he'd be a good pickup. Will Fuller, he's solid.
That's a speedy boy. Yeah.
I don't think Bill
Jamison
Belichick.
Crowder.
Yeah, I don't think Bill Belichick signs Juju Smith-Schuster just because of his TikTok stuff, but
True.
that's just me.
Jamison Crowder, Valdez Scantling.
Ooh.
But I think that's going to be a must pickup for the Packers. I think the Packers have to pick him back up. I think he helps take pressure off, especially if Devontae Adams doesn't play this year, which I think he will. I think they're going to work that out, but I think they need to pick him back up. Then you got Russell Gage.
I really hope we re-sign him. I think we need to re-sign him, honestly.
Emmanuel Sanders. Elon Cole. We're getting some good names now. T.Y. Hilton.
I honestly think the Falcons could sign T.Y. Hilton and A.J. Green, you're going to say in a minute, both to a one-year deal and really cheap.
Sammy Watkins. I think he's just going to start jumping team to team from now on. A.J. Green. Sean Jackson.
He fits anywhere. I mean, he's still so fast. Any team can use him.
Alan Lazard.
Adam Humphries is a good slot receiver. He can make the third down catches.
Byron Pringle. He's fast.
He was he's a Chiefs player. Yeah.
Yeah, he's a free agent now.
Wow.
D. Westbrook. Annie Amendola. Marcus Robinson. Ooh, St. Brown.
Ooh,
Played well for the Lions last year.
he did. Gunnar Olszewski was a good special teamer for the Patriots.
He was.
Quan Treadwell, I want the Jaguars to give him a shot at training camp.
And
Loves-
oh yeah, sorry.
You're good.
Jakeem Grant. He's a pretty solid player.
Marquise Goodwin.
Yeah,
Okay,
he's more
Sharp.
of the older player range, Marquise Goodwin, but he can still be used.
Zacchaeus.
I would love to see Mohamed Sanu back as a Falcon. Not gonna lie.
Oh, I
Him-
haven't heard that name in a while.
Him and
Wow.
Matt Ryan have a really good connection, and Zacchaeus. I'd like to see Zacchaeus back as well.
Zach Pascal.
Where is
He
Mohamed
was a-
Sanu now?
He was on the 49ers for a little bit.
All right, we're gonna move down to the tight end room now. There's actually most of the good ones have already been picked up, but Gronk.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if the
Actually-
Bucks re-signed him just for Tom Brady.
But he has made multiple comments that he would like to play with Joe Burrow.
Yeah, so Bengals could replace CJ Uzomah with him.
That's very interesting. Gerald Everett is another name.
Oh, I think he just got re-signed by the C. Oh no, never mind. I think he got signed somewhere. I'm not sure.
We'll look that up in a second. Jared Cook, Robert Tunyon, Jay Howard, Blake Jarwin.
Chris Herndon's pretty decent as well.
Yeah, James O'Shaughnessy, Jacob Hollister, both Jaguar players that are. Jimmy Graham, he's got to retire soon, doesn't he?
Yeah.
It's a little bit.
Hayden
Kyle
Hurst
Rudolph
is still a free
Hayden
agent.
Hurst. Hayden Hurst. I scrolled right past him.
James O'Shaughnessy too. Solid, cheap tight end you can get. Teams can get.
I don't want him. He's a former Jaguar. I don't need him. Get him on my team. Kyle Rudolph. That's another big name.
Yeah.
Offensive tackle. There's still a lot of tackles.
Yeah, this is a big free agency for linemen, and a lot of teams that need linemen. They definitely. This is the free agency to do it.
Taron Armstead still on the board. Eric Fisher, Trent Brown,
Ifedi, Jermaine Ifedi. He played really well for the Jets. I think David Questenberry just got that signed somewhere too.
They're projecting Devontae Adams to sign a 4-year, $27.5 million per year, 67.5
Oh
million.
man, dude, the Packers. Oh, can the Packers even afford that?
What that?
God.
No way.
I feel like they just spent all their money on Aaron Rodgers anyway.
All right, that's tackles. Center. Most of the centers that are notable have been signed.
Bradley Bozeman, Billy Price.
I'm gonna start looking at the defenses. I just want to see any big names now.
All right, I keep going down the list. Connor Williams, he got signed. We saw that. Trey Turner, Daryl Williams.
The biggest edge rushers are still on the board: Von Miller, Chandler Jones, and Jadeveon Clowney, and Melvin Ingram,
Yeah, Richie
and Justin
Incognito.
Houston.
Yeah, those are big names. Akeem Hicks is a free agent. I honestly didn't know that.
Dante Fowler still.
Yeah. Sue. Yeah, I think a lot of these are gonna get filled in the next couple of days.
Yeah, I think tomorrow is going to be focused on some of these guys. Bobby Wagner.
Oh yeah.
Leighton Vander Esch still a free agent. Ante Hightower.
Ooh,
Anthony Barr.
okay.
DJ Wright.
Now Kyle Van Noy.
Clowney.
Yeah.
I'd like to see any of these guys on the Falcons because we need Prasher's help. So signing these guys for cheap and we're good. Oh yeah, we released Dante Fowler. He was very good for us. Takarius McKinley wasn't very good for us. Another bust. Falcons have had 2 straight busts when they drafted pass rushers. Vic Beasley, he did have 1 good season, but he was basically a bust. And then Takarius McKinley, he was a bust.
I swear, if you take Kyle Van Noy, I won't talk to you for like a whole week.
I don't think the Falcons need a linebacker. I think our linebacker room's pretty set.
Cornerbacks: Stephon Gilmore, Casey Hayward,
Everson Griffin, okay.
Joe Hayden,
Pernell McPhee,
Patrick Peterson,
Oh,
Chris Harris Jr., Desmond King, a doo-doo guy, Eli Apple. Unless he wants to be on the podcast. Xavier Rhodes.
Yeah, Eli Apple, we would welcome you so with open arms on the podcast.
Desmond Trufant.
I can't promise you that Ian won't roast you, but yeah,
I like Eli Apple. It's a cool name though.
it is.
Evan Lawson.
Xavier Rhodes Close.
Aaron Matthews, still a safety on the board. Marcus Williams.
I wouldn't be opposed to the Falcons trying to move Desmond Trufant on a 1-year deal for cheap because I mean,
Jabril Peppers, Ronnie Harrison, Anthony Harris, Lee Hooker.
your boy Trey Herndon.
I think we should pick him up for depth. I don't think we will, though. I think we're going to go a whole new route on some of those players.
Jaquiski Tart, he played well for 49ers.
For 49ers, yeah.
DeMonte Casey, he's okay. Eric Harris played really well for Falcons before he got injured. Keanu Neal. Sean Gibson, Sean Chandler. Yeah. A lot of good free agents left in this draft. And I think there's we're gonna see some more moves tomorrow. I really hope the Falcons make some moves. I know they only have $60 million of cap space, but I really hope we make some moves to address some issues because if we want to compete, we need to address some of these issues right now.
Yeah. All right. This has been the PI podcast with our special guest, Julio. I hope I'm pointing in the right direction for
You're actually. I'm
You're on
actually
your right.
going-
You need on your right. Go move
Yeah,
your
go
right,
to the
Ian.
other side.
Julio.
Your left, I mean. My bad. Your
Yeah.
left.
Julio.
Left corner.
Left like this.
Julio.
No, up.
Julio.
Oh, no.
Yeah, up there. Perfect. Special guest.
Appreciate you being on the show. You're welcome back anytime. Except for tomorrow. No, just kidding.
Just not as a Patriots fan. I can either only be Falcons or Jaguars. There you go.
Yeah, that works.
That works. But thank you, Julio, for joining us. We hope you enjoyed talking football. Definitely, Julio. I play a lot with. He's my best friend. I play with him a lot. We play a lot together. I've known him for 6 years now. But yeah, definitely. Thank you again, Julio, for joining us on this podcast. Ian, send us off.
YouTubers, thank you for watching. Twitchers, thank you for watching. If you're listening to us on Anchor, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, thank you. What else do we put this thing on?
And make sure,
Twitter.
I think the biggest question is: are we ever going to talk about Madden?
Oh yeah, we definitely got to bring Julio back for a Madden podcast, for an episode where we focus on Madden. Yeah. But thank you guys for watching. Definitely subscribe if you're new to the YouTube channel. And definitely we'll be streaming live on YouTube. Not too often, but every once in a while we'll go live and do the podcast live. So definitely make sure you subscribe and have notifications on so you know when we upload brand new videos. We're also on TikTok at PI Podcast. We almost have, I think we're just about at 50,000 views on the PI Podcast hashtag. So, yeah, that's really awesome. But yeah, Thank you guys for watching the podcast, and thank you, Julio, again. And we'll catch you guys later.
Peace.
Peace.
Peace.